Greetings all, and trust that you're doing well. As always, please indicate to me whether you hear me clearly, you see me clearly. Light is fading, but not my responsibility and my understanding of my role in this sphere. Yet again, 5 years ago, that's when this phase became known to so many of you during the elections of 2020, when I was saying to all and sundry that the law is the law, and for as long as you introduce people to disregarding the same, you have chaos. You'll have a society in which people disregard anything called what is proper and lawful. And that's what we saw for 5 years, where the legal minds in our country demonstrated to us, even through the leadership, what we call the constitutional officers, that the law doesn't matter. The Constitution doesn't matter, do whatever you want. And we saw the court playing ballet with our lives. And 5 years later, why do we think we'll have a different result? So welcome. And let's have this brief discussion. A tale of two recounts. A tale of two recounts. In 2020, when the Guyana Elections Commission declared that David Granger would have been the president, and that the APNU AFC would have won the elections, hell broke loose. And Barra Jagdeo took his minions, remember in more? One even was brandishing a weapon, which is a criminal act, by the way. He was never charged. He was with a weapon, never spent a day in jail, never lost his firearm license when he was threatening the life of unarmed Guyanese. I don't even know if it was a license. I don't know. I trust he would have been a licensed firearm holder. But we saw that. We saw the fires lit in and more. We saw the rage in Bath. Where policemen were running for their lives. We saw them attacking Guyanese nurses and other public servants who were going on their way. We saw them attacking and breaking and bursting the heads of little school children on a bus. We saw that from the PP supporters 5 years ago. And all of that, the international community saw and did not, for 1 minute, step in and condemn Jagdeo and say, go to a petition and let peace reign. No, they deemed it as guarding democracy. Ooh, and now, 5 years later, there is a deafening silence as to what should happen. But before we go to that, I told you all, and I'll say it again, that there is a coalition. And the other arm of the coalition has to now work, which is the Guyana Elections Commission, 3 commissioners included. This second arm of the coalition has to work to perfection for this to work. So you have the PPP, People's Pathetic Party, / Guyana Elections Commission, 3 commissioners included, along with the CEO and others. There's a group of people in GECOM, and that group now has to kick in to ensure that the coalition works. The coalition works. With that being done, Guyanese are wondering, what do we do? My phone is ringing off the hook, as they say, blowing up, because persons want answers. And I'm grateful that the Forward Guyana movement has positioned itself in our democracy, has positioned itself in our country to be that group that offers you truth and honesty at all costs. I told you patriotism is a very important thing. And when you're a true patriot and you love your country, you stand for what is right in your nation. So here's some questions I will answer for you. Who has the authority to request a recount? Who? According to law, the Representation of the People Act, any candidate has a right to request a recount because that candidate represents the people, would have been put up for representation of the people. So that candidate has the authority to say they will request a recount because they're not satisfied with the result. Again, somewhere here. A counting agent, one of the agents who counted the ballot, can say, I don't agree with what they did, I have a right to request a recount. those two requests would be considered, listen to my language carefully, would be considered by the returning officer, not granted. It doesn't have to be granted. So the returning officer, remember Mingo? Right. Now the people, I told you all this 5 years ago, that when you see these criminals have a chance, they will flip that same law, that same rule, and tell you that the rule they broke, you must now upkeep. They know it. So they say, no. The recount, the returning officers are the people you have to request a recount from. Nobody else. If not, go to court. So GECOM or the Guyana Election Commission now trying to tell some people you don't have the authority to request a recount. Yes, they do. The question is whether the returning officers can grant the same. But the returning officers already handed the ballot boxes and other items over to the CEO. They're now under the auspices or the authority of the Guyana Elections Commission. So things are now becoming different, which is now with the presidential candidate, who's a candidate, will have to come forward and say, well, I demand a recount. Now, what did Roxanne George do? Roxanne George, who was the Chief Justice at that time acting, suggested to Granger and Jagdeo, listen, we don't want a problem. I suggest to you that we conduct a recount. A forensic recount where everything is put on the table. We check this back. Cost us almost $8 billion, I think. The whole election process, all the election together, including that recount. Almost $8 billion Guyana dollars. Now, with all of these attorneys that we have, am I to think that you all want to allow the boat to sink? Or do you want to stand and at least show Guyanese you're willing to do something? Because Irfan Ali, right before the eyes of all of the international bodies, all of the so-called diplomatic community, within 1 month or so of the elections, Irfan said, hey, I will show you my hand now. This is a queen move in chess. This is not a faithful move. You just try to shift a pawn here and there. No. This is a power move now. I'll take the queen move. I'll take Roxanne George, put her as Chancellor of the Judiciary. So she has no say in reference to what happens in these elections, apart from just receiving from Claudette Singh the instruction to swear in the president. That's all Roxanne could do right now. Nothing else. To you over there. Then he took, because of course if Roxanne is there, Roxanne George will tell him, it happened in 2020, we'll do it in 2025. This, what goes for you, goes for you. She's likely to do that, because this one is worse in 2020. You want to ask me how? I'll tell you. I'm happy to tell. I'm not seeing your comments for some reason, so I'll still talk. Oh, let me tell you the problem. When anybody from the Guyana Election Commission, that's when you see us start go become a different animal with you now. When you see anybody from GECOM, I'm talking about no polling agent or whatever. I'm talking about the body of GECOM now at work. You all have been paid our money to do your job. When you would tell anybody that rejected ballots don't go to the RO and are not kept in a special envelope in the ballot box to prove when you're ready to count, as in this case, if you say 5 ballots were rejected, you have to show us the 5. Show Vishnu Prasad the 5. Show Claudette Singh the 5. Show any of the commissioners the 5. Because if GECOM were to be told today to conduct a forensic recount, where are the rejected ballots? Every ballot that was cast must be accounted for. You cannot tell me that in 2025, after experience in 2020, that you don't know what to do with rejected ballot, but they ensured that it chose people who are not qualified to facilitate electoral processes or to have oversight of the same. They made it their duty to ensure they employ people who were not qualified to deal with this. So if you're ignorant, you don't know what to do. Come, welcome aboard. And bring Barrett to answer me too. Once you tell anybody that there are ballots were rejected. It's on the statements of poll. Ballots were rejected. Which ballots? Where are they? So can you imagine people counting and come to tell you today, hey, we have 200 in total, 200 rejected ballots. Or 10,000 rejected ballots. And you ask, where are they? And GECOM tells you it doesn't matter. What is... Man, you mean tell me in this day and age, I keep telling you all, in an information sharing age, which is why you share broadcasts, you share your Bible verses, you share what you call chat GPT information, you share AI information and research, you share anything. So in an information sharing age, you're going to tell me that you would accept GECOM telling you that ballots were rejected but they don't know where they are? If you can't account for the people's ballots, you don't have a valid election. It cannot be credible. Because who knows? The presiding officer or the counting agent could decide. The counting clerk, hey, you hear what happened? We don't like Ford Guyana movement, or we don't like Azadin, or we don't like PP, so we throw away PPP's ballot. Anything is possible. So you have to show people. You have to show people the ballot, the law. The law is there in Representation of People Act. For every rejected ballot, you have to give account. Because that ballot carries a stamp. And that stamp has to be accounted for on the ballot and the counterfoil. 5 years ago, I had to tell you all these things. And I come back again 5 years later to tell you the same thing? That is not coincidence. That is not coincidence. There's nobody could tell me in Guyana Election Commission that you accept this foolishness. Where are the people's votes? Don't tell me that people who were paid our money to function in elections, they didn't know what to do with rejected ballots. Do not tell me that. Do not tell me that. Do not tell me that you don't know what to do with it. You may have done what you were told to do, but don't tell me you don't know what to do. Ballots are rejected and they can't account for it. So there's one way you see now whereby you cannot account, even if it's for one rejected ballot, there's a problem. Because elections require that every vote, every ballot cast must be accounted for. That's law. Even if you cancel a ballot, the presiding officer has to take note of that cancelled ballot, put it in a special envelope, put it in the ballot box so that it can be verified. Or put in an envelope, this has been cancelled. So you have the ballot boxes, and along the ballot box, they must, not should, provide envelopes with statements of poll, the ballots that have been rejected, ballots that have been cancelled. How in heaven's name GECOM could tell you that it's not a problem if they can't account for ballots that have been rejected? Where are they? Where did they go? In the blackouts, did they disappear? What happened to them? So if there's ever a case for a national recount, what goes for Harry goes for Paul. Because I told Granger don't do it in the first place. Since 2020, I said, David Granger, don't do this. This is unlawful. Oh, no, boy. When I was an enemy, I was called a PVP. I was called all kinds of things. Now, what would you call me today? Because I know this come back to bite you. Anil Nandla will show you all now, if you don't stand up to them, by the thousands, you would go nowhere. Forward Guyana movement can be directly affected by this. APNU could be directly affected. PPP can be affected. Because I'm saying you don't know who's who. AFC could be affected. WIN could be affected. That is why biometrics make every ounce of sense. But we didn't go for biometrics because it took 5 years. 5 years. And the strong and mighty opposition couldn't do anything for 5 years. But that's past. So let's come to today. Today, if they cannot account for your vote, they have to be held accountable for it. So we're not playing this game. Head to the court. Ensure that the court hears that we're not playing this game. But what did Irfan do? With less than 1 month, I think it would have been. Just about, probably. Irfan moved Roxanne George, brought in another Chief Justice who always voted in favor of the PPP. Always. When he was an appellate court judge. So you become Chief Justice acting. So all electoral matters go before this Chief Justice because it's a constitutional matter. Irfan put him there. What did Irfan do next? Irfan headed to the appellate court because he knows the last time they were 2 to 1, 2 to 1, 2 to 1. Irfan said, okay, you think it's smart. 5 appellate court judges appointed 1 time. Let me tell you what Anil will do to you all now. Anil now will tell you what he didn't tell in 2025, which is that the appeal court of Guyana is the apex court when it comes to determining who the president is. CCJ cannot determine that. CCJ can rule on a whole other thing, but they cannot determine who the president of this country is. So now Irfan was instructed, Irfan got sent, but Irfan was instructed to put 5 judges in the appeal court. So when you get to them now, remember who appointed them just 1 month or so before elections? One man moved 7 judges around. Roxanne George, Chief Justice acting, was never appointed substantively. Out. You go across there, so all you could do is swearing somebody. We can't use. Roxanne was a genius when it comes to law, apart from when she didn't reference to this recount suggestion. I hold it against her all my life because she knows it wasn't right. Good. And the next thing is when she said, based on some technicality, she struck out the election petition. No, it was it determined who ruled the country. So the technicality could have been considered or had of to some extent overlooked by the judge. Say, okay, then we will give this a pass because the more critical matter is not what date it was filed, is what the content of the argument would have been. Those 2 matters I have an issue with. That aside. In this case, because she had set precedents in 2020, we expect precedents to come here again, to be utilized in reference to referencing. So before it was done, we'll do it again. So all along, George Boy Granger decided he doesn't want to be sworn in. No, we will await. No, we don't want to do that. When the chief election officer said, this is it. No, I don't want to be sworn in. No, I don't. That's Granger for y'all. And y'all talking about Barnum legacy? And you want to tell me about Barnum legacy? David destroyed anything called Barnum anything. Because Barnum was never a weak man. So, Irfan decided to move Roxanne George and bring in Singh. So we got the Chief Justice appointed, and then now we have 5 appellate court judges. So 7 judges will move around. Some appointed. You go be a judge. Go be a judge. This sends a message to the candidates that, hey, something was afoot here. And the US, the UK, and all y'all diplomatic community said nothing. Nothing. You didn't raise a red flag, you didn't raise an alarm and say this is crazy. Nobody does this. No president does this before an election except Irfan Ali. And you all accepted that. Because I am going to tell you all today, I'm convinced that the international community has a lot to answer to Guyanese for and about. So, here we come to a situation whereby parties are saying that, hey, Wynne believes that there should be a minority government. Everybody believes, based on the trend in this country, there should be a minority government. Oh, we should find out what happened. How do you have such a great disparity in votes and stuff like that? What's going on? Well, there's only one thing left to do, which is to demand, not ask for, demand that there be a complete, forensic, thorough audit of the electoral processes. We're the guardians of democracy. Start guarding ballot boxes now. Remember Edgy was in front of you, all that gun and all kinds of stand up, guarding ballot boxes. We're the guardians of democracy tonight. Guard the ballot boxes now. Because I warned you all about these things. 5 years ago, I told you that this will come upon you again. And Anil made it the worst. Because Anil has argued that you cannot invalidate a vote when the Constitution is clear as to what validates a vote. And if it doesn't meet the criteria of validation, then it cannot be counted. And the same Anil now talking will tell you all about counterfoils. So you watch these things unfold. You watch a plan to structure the court, potentially to rule in the favor of the PPP. You watch all of that and just let it go on by because somebody was convinced that he would be president. Not Irfan. Somebody else or two other bodies were convinced, hey, I'll rule this country. So I don't have to pay attention to these little things. No, I don't want that. I'll be in charge nonetheless. Now we are at the place whereby you have to cause your supporters to stand. That's what you have to do. Get to the court. Azadin, if you could get a judge to rule that they mustn't take a Lamborghini on a Saturday, for heaven's sake, I need to get one to rule that today, tonight, now, that no swearing must occur. If the judge could take the time to make a ruling against a Lamborghini being taken out of your yard and a Ferrari or whatever else it was, they sure could make a ruling now that nobody must be sworn in until this is sorted out. We've got great intellectual minds in the APNU. Remember that? Remember the list? That was good. So all of the opposition parties now, you have a chance to stand and show the world what you intend to do. Unless for some reason you believe that, hey, this wouldn't look too good if I do it. Because I'm telling you all, what is the most treasonous of all acts in this country is that a sitting government imported voters. You can't look past that. No Guyanese must accept that. When a sitting government could import people to vote for them, that is treason. Find the Nigerian, because we play with y'all. Find them, and they have to give account for what they did. My question is, how much do you love your country? Or are you prepared to just let this swim on by? As a man would say, let's just kick it down the road. Our presidential candidate said, would you just kick it down the road? What will you do? What are you prepared to do? I am telling you all again, my face was not known because I'm from Fort Guyana Movement or the People's Movement. My face is, I am Guyanese from 2020. I was telling you all that I refuse to be quiet any longer. It started then, it will continue now. You can't get me to be quiet in the face of nonsense. You can never get me to be silent in the face of atrocities. No, not committed against my nation. No way. So decide what you're going to do. What shall it be? Can you all hear me? I just took my phone off. What's it going to be? In Jamaica, almost 800,000 people voted. You hear me? In Jamaica. And in a few hours, results are out. In Jamaica, almost, okay, I've switched my earpiece, so tell me if you can hear me say, please. In Jamaica, about 800,000 people voted. And they got the results within a few hours. In Guyana, South America, they said about 400,000 people voted or so. The 1st of September, 2nd of September, 3rd of September, today's what it is. 4th of September. And we can't get results. All parties, APNU, AFC, WIN, whatever, Forward Ghana Movement, how much more you want us to do, man? Honestly speaking, let's be serious here. How much more do you want this party to do? Somebody see my volume is low? I don't know why. Very low? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Tell me if you can hear me. Somebody say it was low. Could be delayed. Sorry, I took off the earpiece. Can you hear me? Loud and clear. I'm in an echo chamber. Woo! Good, you can hear me. How much more do you want us to do? Tell me, please. How much more do you want Forward Ghana Movement to really do? I'm saying to you again, as a Guyanese person, let us stand together and establish what is right. Establish what is proper. The point is not about who won and who lost. It's about having confidence in a system. That's the argument. Do you have confidence in the system? That is the argument. Do you have confidence in the system? That's the issue. So Roxanne George said, listen, just to appear okay. She suggested to Granger and to Jag, listen, we don't want chaos in the country. Y'all, let's just make it appear to be okay. So we'll go to a recount, we'll open all the ballot boxes, we'll go through this thing, and we'll kick. GECOM is going to tell you how the process will go. Then Aubrey Norton said that GECOM made Order 6 into law. No. Order 6 cannot be law. GECOM doesn't make laws. The Guyana Election Commission cannot make a law. And in this case, Parliament cannot be convened because there's no Parliament. It was already dissolved. So you cannot have any bodyguard to make some law. So you can only work with the law. What does the law say? Because you can't make some law now. Oh, y'all tell me my things distorted and it was fine this now. Let me give it one more shot. What does the law say? What does the law state? What does the law require? Or are we going to stand here and figure out who will be in charge and who will be in charge? What are we going to do? Would we decide to argue about who will be in charge, who would lead, who wouldn't lead? What do we do? I'm saying that the only hope for this nation lies in its people. The people. The people. I put my earpiece back in, so let's see if the earbuds will work. Who is going to stand together? The people. That's the only hope we have. Guyanese have to stand together. That's all. There's nothing else you can work with right now. Now, if you all are serious, we'll have a meeting. And we'll have a serious conversation. Now, among all the candidates, presidential and prime ministerial, I have to travel to Georgetown. I'm telling you all, don't waste my time, because I don't. This time around, I'll go live for you all in 5 seconds. So in playing this game this time, I am committing myself as an individual. And I know that there are many others who will be committed to us having a conversation about what do we do. Nigerians could laugh and make a mockery of us as they contributed much money to vote. What is wrong with y'all? Find the Nigerian. And he has to talk. Their country is known for scamming. The scamming headquarters in this world is Nigeria. They call on the phone, hello, good afternoon, you're invited to a meeting. Hey, my brother. These set of people. Are you boasting that you made a contribution of $200,000 or $1,000? Find the Nigerian. All of them. Are we going to stand, or are we going to just allow this to roll on by? What I could tell you is, I know who the fighters are in this situation. I know those who are saying, let us do something in this situation. I know those who are saying we have to act yet again. But that's just who we are. We just do this on a normal basis. Are you going as citizens to gather in your thousands to stand and say, listen, we demand that this thing here be done right. Once it's done right, we can move forward. But do it right. Don't tell me that you can account for rejected ballots. Not here. Not in this 2025 season. You can't tell me that nonsense. You could try it in 1840. Why can't you tell me that in 2025 that you cannot find ballots that were rejected? So if I voted, and they decided, somebody decides that they reject my ballot, they can account for that? Are you going to stand together now? Or we'll show people that we're divided still? What are we going to do? Huh? And I want PPP, if we are walking on the road, I ask Jagdeal, please, y'all send any scrape or whatever you call them in the crowd to misbehave. You send one of them, and I'll show Aubrey and others how you deal with them. You send them around anybody who walks peacefully in the road to come and make trouble. And they'll see barley's grow. Because I don't tolerate destroying any property that belongs to the people. It's ours. But just the presence of people make a statement. What are we going to do? Where do we go from here? With all of your commentators coming to the country, apart from those of you, I'm not calling Melissa to come anywhere. Melissa don't leave where you are. You have done too much. More than enough. So don't come. But can the other commentators come home here? And stand with us in the crowd? All you who are scholars and know what's supposed to happen and shouldn't happen, would you please come here and stand? Because Melissa did more than enough. From the first time she began to release anything, y'all should have done, get rid of these people. But can we ask the commentators to come, those who know everything should happen in Guyana, come and stand with us in the street too? What are we going to do? Huh? In Ghana, where there's 34 million people, 34.3 is almost of voting population. They, within 3 to 4 months, have got biometrics ready for the election. 34 million people. Guyana has got a voting population of about 400,000. Between 4 to 450. Maximum 600,000. What y'all did? In the Bahamas, in 6 months, they ready for elections with biometrics. This is the only country I know who said, no. Biometrics is bad. We don't want that. We don't want that. No. Ballot said they get blackout, so no biometrics. And Claudette said, no, we won't have any biometrics. And you all still went ahead. No problem. And I'm happy that we took part. Because if Forward Guyana movement were not in these elections, many things you would have never heard. You would have never heard and you'd never seen. And that's the absolute truth. For example, the judge ruled that the case didn't make any sense, and he said it's nonsensical, right? It's ludicrous. But still, Anil Nandlal and you, Mr. Judge, a doctor, a medical doctor, not a scrape, as you all want to call people, a medical doctor was sent into Region 8, not asked to go. A medical doctor who registered in Region 10, who worked in Region 4, who is eligible to vote, a medical doctor, was sent to help our brothers and sisters in Region 8. Now, I believe that that's the patriotic thing to do. More than that, it's your job. So you told you need to go to work in Region 8. The person went to work in Region 8. The person supports Forward Guyana movement. But guess what? We're not on the ballot. So there's a case whereby the government sent you somewhere to work and you can't get a vote for the party you want. And these people said that makes sense. That even your job could cause you to be disenfranchised, and that it makes perfect sense. So should this doctor sue Frank Anthony? Because if I want to choose somebody, you send me when I want to vote, you cause me to be disenfranchised. What we do, or according to the judge, Anil, the doctor supposed to sue us to say that you disenfranchised me here. The kind of people we got who call themselves Attorney General, I don't understand. But that's not the story. We're calling on all of y'all who had so much to say and give instructions to come home and support those who endorse and everything else. Let's stand together. Let's make a statement. While we're here, let's peacefully walk the road to say that we're not accepting this foolishness. Because I'm telling y'all, for me, it's not about who wins and who loses. I must have confidence in what is proper and right. And no officer of the Guyana Elections Commission could tell me that I must accept that. Like it's scrambling my audio or what? Facebook, I'm on to y'all, you know. Nobody, not a soul from the Guyana Election Commission can tell me that I must accept that you cannot account for rejected ballots. That one right there. No, we're not playing that. Okay, took my earbuds out now. Let's see if it's going to work. Listen to me. There is nobody who's going to tell me that they didn't know what to do with rejected ballots. It's better now? Good. Demand what you need. It's that simple. For the Georgetown Chamber of Commerce to tell anybody the elections were smooth and perfect. Listen, with all the Guyanese complaining that they were disenfranchised, they were moved, their address changed. When they ran this way, they said, no, you have to vote somewhere else. People who were disabled couldn't get to vote. People with disability, and these creatures in the Chamber of Commerce say, hey, elections are perfect. Lord help Guyana. That's the same Chamber of Commerce who said that they don't agree with biometrics either. The people who want to upgrade their systems and have more efficient computerizations and so on said they don't agree with biometrics either. The Georgetown Chamber of Commerce and the Private Sector Commission. No, we don't want any chamber any biometrics. Because Guyana is now an oligarchy where the rich boys think they rule things, but you don't run things here. You don't run things here. So I'll leave you again, and I'll be back with further updates throughout the night, more than likely. I would not be announcing to you where I'll be and where I would not be, but I'll be coming to you with updates as we proceed. All right? You all do well.